TIFU buying my son's Halloween candy away from him. My kids go trick-or-treating. We live in a great candy neighborhood, so every year they come home with 100 to 200 pieces. When they're young we tell them Santa brings every boy and girl a present on Halloween, and the more candy you leave him, the better a present he'd leave in exchange. When the kids get old enough to realize Santa is a hoax, that's when we start paying in cash. 25 cents per piece. Did this with our oldest two and it worked great. They give up about 3/4 of their candy and buy a toy. Our third child is 8 this year, so called us out on the Santa thing. We explained the new deal. He said, so then it's my money and I can buy whatever I want with it? A new skateboard even? Anything? You bet. Swear? Yep. He goes and brings us all his candy. Even every Kit Kat, his favorite. I was shocked, but he'd been saving up for a skateboard for a bit, so must have decided to go all in to push his savings over the edge. Getting all the sugar out of his room was a best case scenario. Easiest $31.75 I'd spent all week. Next day I brought the candy to work. Then we went to Walmart after school and the kids ran to pick out their stuff. We met at the checkout. There's my son, who has raided the clearance aisle and found 200 Kit Kats for $10. Oh, I started to tell him to put it back, but he said, what? You said I could buy whatever I wanted. You swore. I want my candy back then. His candy had already been eaten by my co-workers. I did swear, and we put a lot of emphasis on the importance of keeping your word. So, my son has almost twice as much candy as he would have from just keeping his trick-or-treating. And a new skateboard. I don't know who's more pissed, my wife that this plan backfired so horrifically, or his older brothers that they never thought to do this. Doctor, I bought my son's Halloween candy back from him to get the sugar out of the house. He spent the money on twice as much candy as he had gotten trick-or-treating. Edit, thanks to everyone for all these awards. I'd be proud if my son played me at my own game like that. If you don't set rules, anything is game. Your kid will go far. He really did, and he's already made it to the candy aisle with a pocket full of cash. I don't know that he had any further aspirations for his life. What you have is a very smart boy. He is going places. Haha, thanks. He might be too smart for his own good sometimes, but he's definitely on his way. My ex's parents had a sort of similar candy thing that backfired. His dad, who is very conservative, would teach them about taxes by taxing some share of their candy. My ex started bringing home his candy in batches throughout the night and stashing it in his room so that when it came time to pay the candy tax, he lost a much smaller percentage of his actual candy total. So really he just learned the benefits of tax fraud. Post on malicious compliance, people will love it. Never heard of the sub, will check it out, thanks. Oh man, you are so butternut. That kid is going to run circles around you for years to come. I've got one of those too. My condolences. Yeah, probably so. Condolences/congratulations back at you. TIFU by leaving a zucchini on the table and ruining my son's life. This happened Saturday night into Sunday morning, but my shame has subsided enough for me to write this out. Also no throwaway because whatever. We have a 12-year-old son. Saturday night after he went to bed, husband and I decided to get a little butternut in. After quite a few drinks, we also decided to break out the toy box. Husband leaves the room with a few coconut and says he will be back. He was putting new batteries in them, etc. He comes back, we do our thing and go to sleep. We wake up in the morning and our son comes into our room and says, what is that on the table? I immediately realized the FU. Husband did not, so he asks, what is it? Son, a purple banana. PS he's 12, so he knew what it was. And he walks out of the room. Cue immediate shame/laughter. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me. Side note, we did not use that particular purple banana that night, thank God. After we composed ourselves, husband goes into son's room and says, what do you want for breakfast? Son says, I lost my appetite. I'm still dying inside. I'm sure son is too. Doctor left a coconut on the table like a moron. Son won't ever be the same. Edit, okay guys, you realize it's 2019, the internet is alive and well, and 7th grade 12-year-old boys are exploring etc, right? It's not crazy that he knows what zucchini are. Also edit, I didn't treat it like it was shameful, and I know I didn't actually ruin his life. But no one wants to think of their parents having cheesecake. We laughed about it afterwards and made purple banana jokes the rest of the day. Are open and communicate, etc. I was mortified and still am, because it's embarrassing. We were about 16 to 17 and found my friend's mom's vibrator. Someone dropped it and it broke, so the son was scared he would get caught snooping in his mom's room, so he took it to the garage and fixed it. So we nicknamed the garage the Butternut Repair Shop and called it that for the rest of high school. What do you mean, he repaired it? Can he fix any electrical object, or is he just particularly accustomed to banana tech? My grade 8 classmates, all boys, and I found a pink coconut under one of our hotel beds when we were on a field trip. Half of us were so confused, the other half of us thought it was hysterical. A giant 12-inch neon pink cheesecake isn't something you always find under a bed. I remember we chased each other with it, even slapped each other in the face with it when the other person wasn't looking. Looking back, who knows where that thing had been. We kept this thing in our hotel for 2 days until we finally told our teacher, which ended up getting us a free room for the night. I still laugh when I think about it to this day. And GT, we chased each other with it, even slapped each other in the face with it. I'm channeling my inner Borat here, very nice. We found my friend's mom's butternut, quite extensive collection, and we chased each other around his house with them. I think we were 12-13 and there was about 5 to 6 of us. The game stopped when one touched someone's mouth. It could have been worse. Smiley face. Smiley face, sounds like the appropriate time to end the game. Yeah, that purple banana went into the garbage can just because I can't ever look at it again. One time in middle school I went to stay the night at a friend's house, and when I came home the next morning my parents were still asleep and there was a large orange double-ended zucchini on the coffee table. I went straight to my room and stayed there for several hours, and when I came out the banana was gone and life was normal again. It was never spoken of. And GT, when I came out the zucchini was gone and life was normal again. It was never spoken of. What? Your mom was using a double-ended banana and you never were curious enough to find out with whom? I'm just laughing at the idea of your husband taking so many toys into the kitchen that he forgot one and didn't notice. In my head it's just like armloads of banana. Like an infomercial showing a guy awkwardly try to carry too much stuff. TIFU, by letting this subreddit devolve into a collection of creative erotica writing assignments, meta. I don't know if meta threads are allowed, but I think this needs to be said. I believe the removal of the NSFW only on weekends rule hurt this subreddit a lot. The majority of the posts in the past used to be actually interesting TIFUs that may have been fake, but at least were believable and varied. Nowadays every top post is either getting caught masturbating, getting caught having butternut and causing an injury, masturbating with a weird/disgusting object, or, the best of all, TIFUs that are actually not TIFUs at all and serve only as humble brags. TIFU by missing signs. This 10/10th chick was into me, haha, what a fool I am. Anyways, she told me a week later and we had the hottest, most amazing zucchini you can imagine. Sprinkle in as many euphemisms as you can find on Google to look unique, and you haven't GT, 50% posts on this sub. When you open many of those stories, you have people actually calling up out for the story obviously being fake/barely a TIFU, like the guy who almost went down on his cousin and then in an update actually went down on his cousin, like who is actually dumb enough to believe that happened. So I really doubt I am the only person who thinks the subreddit is regressing. TL, Doctor, personally I think the quality of the subreddit would be improved by reinstating the NSFW weekend rule. These posts clearly have their audience, so I have no problems with them existing at all, and when they were scarce they were indeed actually interesting. However, I don't think it's fun to open this sub and seeing the exact same butternut every single day. While this may not be a fitting r/TIFU post, we appreciate the community feedback, so we're keeping this post up. We'll go over your replies and discuss it internally. Remember that moderation is a volunteering position and the sidebar rules are often there to keep the content and the community thriving. Have a good start of the week. Edit. You can also visit r/ideas for TIFU and drop us feedback there directly. What turned this subreddit into a creative writing exercise is the arbitrary minimum length limit on posts. It deters 90% of the real butternut-ups and encourages people who make up entire falsehoods or make up BS to get to a minimum word count. As someone who browses new, I agree that there is a low quality to a lot of these TIFUs that people post along the same lines as you mention. I would agree on the NSFW on weekends only posts. I think a lot of the low quality posts are done by bored people who have nothing better to do than to write stories and farm points. If everyone posting in here actually button up their pants, slept with a parent/sibling/aunt/uncle and hurt themselves violently during butternut as much as they would have us believe, we could just merge with r/Alabama and be done with it. I miss stuff like the window steak story. Hopefully the beef was Kobe. Window steak was the good old days of this sub. Such a great story. Both sides. If I have to read one more masturbation story where the op gives a new euphemism every sentence, I'm gonna puke. It's not cutesy or unique. It's tired and I see it a couple times a week. So anyways, I was roughing up the old suspect, if you know what I mean, and I open my snaps to see my best friend accidentally posted a video of him pulling his pud, if you know what I mean. It was then I realized that I was actually live streaming myself cranking my yank, if you know what I mean. I gasped out loud and my way hot GF, who was playing with the little man in the pink kayak, if you know what I mean, in the bathroom, screamed out up. Why are you flogging your Molly? If you know what she means. I was going to reply, but it was too late. Turns out my 10/10ths GF was FaceTiming my mom, who was in the process of doing the morning announcements at school. So the entire school now knows what's going on. And to make matters worse, CNN was there doing some story about some kid who broke his arms, and the announcement about Rosie introducing banana to her 5 friends, if you know what I mean, was heard during the live interview with the principal. I'm so embarrassed right now. I just want to curl up under my blanket and die. Update, it's been 30 minutes, and I haven't left my room. Apparently Wolf Blitzer is here to do an interview.